It's interesting that you should mention the peaceful village sequence of Uncharted 2, because that was a major inspiration for us in our thinking about the desert sequence, the Lost in the Desert sequence that players will find in Uncharted 3. That sequence, of course, is very cinematic, and we really looked at lots of films that showed the desert, going all the way back to the 30s and the 40s, that showed people slogging through the endless barren sea of sand dunes in search of some kind of salvation. And we kind of drew out our favourite moments. There's often a sequence of a character walking along the ridge of a sand dune, and just the sort of all of the visual effects associated with the movement of the fine sand and the heat haze, and we just sequenced it out. And my friend Kurt Margenau, who is another one of the game designers, worked really hard to prototype that sequence, and starting off with some very loose bits and pieces that I and some of my friends had made, and I think he really aced it. And of course we do some weird stuff in there as well, that Kurt collaborated very closely with Justin Richmond, game director for Uncharted 3, and with Amy Hennig, who's the creative director on the series, to make sure that they hit just the right notes in a way that I think really helps draw all of the strings of the story there. Well, the issues around what is Drake's deception, and you know, what's the nature of the antagonism that the guys face in the story. There's even a little something in there for fans of poetry.
And I will show you something different. From either your shadow at morning striding behind you, or your shadow at evening rising to meet you. I will show you fear in a handful of dust.
Amy and I have worked together for a long time, and I know that T.S. Eliot had some influence on the work that she and I did together on the Soul Reaver series. But she loves Eliot, and I think that this sequence just jumped out at her relatively close towards the end of Uncharted 3's development. This sequence of poetry, I mean to say, as something that would resonate throughout the story in that part of the game, that would have indeed a straightforward reference to that big rock that Drake takes shelter under, but that would also feel like it was connected to the nature of the quest that Drake was on. Whenever you make a large camera movement like that, it's technically very challenging, because of course we're always having to be aware of how much stuff we're drawing on the screen, and how that affects our frame rate. So yes, it took a long time, a lot of prototyping and a lot of iteration to get those big wide shots of the desert just right. Well, I know that it was hugely difficult to get the sand looking as good as it does, and the guys in the visual effects department at Naughty Dog actually went out into the desert and filmed each other rolling around on these huge sand dunes, which are a few hours drive east of Los Angeles. In fact, Keith Garrett, who is our lead visual effects artist, gave himself heat stroke running up and down these dunes and tumbling over and over again to make sure that they got all the video reference they needed to be able to reproduce all of that great stuff where the sand kind of runs downhill, almost like a liquid.
You gotta be kidding me.
the horse riding sequence was actually put together by my co-lead game designer on Uncharted 3, Jacob Minkoff, who had also been responsible for the train sequence in Uncharted 2. And if you've played that sequence of gameplay, you'll probably understand just how complex it is to do something like the horse chase in Uncharted 3. I know that Jacob spent many late nights figuring out exactly how to do it. And we reconfigured that sequence many times before we got it just right in terms of the pacing, both of the gameplay and the drama that unfolds there. The environments there were a real labour of love for all of the environmental artists involved. And I think that they're some of the most amazing video game environments I've ever seen. You know, when the sequence heading into the Rocky Canyons, they just looked, the artwork there just looks so photorealistic. It's really quite extraordinary. They really captured the rich redness of the rock there and the way it gives way to the sand and the scrub. And it was very hard to fix all of the problems to do with Drake jumping between the horse and the trucks, and then sequencing the trucks so that they would approach each other properly, presenting the challenges in terms of the different enemies that you have to either shoot or fight in melee combat on just the right schedule. But those guys somehow managed to pull it together. We've only just finished Uncharted 3, and so we're all still kind of in that phase where we're thinking about the kind of experience we've just had making this game. Every single person at Naughty Dog is brimming with ideas for future games, of course. It's always really exciting, I think, when you work hard on a big game like Uncharted 3. I find myself having lots and lots and lots of ideas during all of those evenings and late nights for future things. So even though, of course, I'm not going to say a thing about what we might be planning next, rest assured that there's a lot of rich material for us to draw on.
I sure as hell do! Oh my god, the city's collapsing!